So you got the Winnebago Revel, the Thor Tranquility, and the Pleasure Way Rekon. At a glance, they look awful similar. That's because they are. So why would you choose one instead of the other? I don't know. I'm an RV nerd who specializes more in towable things. Thankfully, I've brought in assistance. This is Mr. Chris Bystead out here at our Junction City, Oregon store. And I said, hey, Chris, you know, could you walk me through a couple of these? He said, I'll do you one better. Chris took the time to stage all these, and he said, we're gonna go through these, and we're gonna do a head-to-head-to-head brand battle, baby. And we're gonna pit them against one another, and we're gonna go through them not worrying about the floor plan. We're gonna check out all the different systems and holding tanks and special features that each brand offers to kind of see which one does it, in your view, a little bit better than the other. So, Chris, where do you want to get started?
So why don't we start with the Winnebago Revel? That was the Class B van, four-wheel drive that brought us to the dance, and now everybody is coming out with their own version of it. And they're very similar, but they also have a lot of differences. One of them is going to be the right one for you. We just got to figure out which one it's going to be.
For me?
For you.
For me.
I'll sell you one.
Now, see, I used to tell people, because, you know, I came from a family-owned and operated dealership, I would tell people, hey, I'll treat you just like family. Problem is, we ain't that nice to each other. So we're going to bounce between all three of these things, zone to zone, like I said. We're going to start with just door side features. We're starting over here in the Winnebago Revel. This is going to kind of act as the baseline between all these things, because really it was the one that came first, and this is the one that everyone else is kind of copying here. So first of all, naturally, can you believe it? They're the only ones with the Winnebago W emblazoned, steps right here. Can't believe nobody else did that, right? What they did do that I really like, though, is they gave you a little shin warning system over here with the little LED lights on the end, because late at night, after Uncle Josh has had a couple barley pops, it is kind of nice to know if there are dangerous objects sticking out my face. And you see that little bar there? That is intended to be a little dog leash latch. Now, kind of the cool thing here, they all sort of do it a little same, a little different. This one has this little flip down table. And you notice these have a portable induction cooktop, because one of the key things on the Winnebago Revel is that it is pure electric. It is basically pure lithium powered, you know, solar lightning from the sky effectively powering this thing. Does not have a propane system. Now, if you're not parked on level ground, you can adjust the working height, basically, of that little table right there. Easily reached inverted outlets in case you need to, you know, run anything. And it does kind of open toward you, but your 12-volt fridge is, you know, just within an arm's reach right here. You might still have to climb in and out to get to it. One of the other things that I think is of specific note here, all three of these have a power awning, so that's kind of, you know, a wash. But you see that little light bar just above the passenger's door? You will notice as we go around, the Winnebago has those really in the places that you're going to want to use them. And considering this is a rig you might park in the middle of nowhere, having that functionality, the light outside the RV, I think is a really clutch detail. Now, jumping over to the Thor Tranquility, if I'm not mistaken, of the three we're looking at today, this is the newest member of the pack, effectively. Maybe it doesn't have the dog leash latch specifically. It does lack the lights down here, but if I'm going to tie a dog up, I could just as easily wrap the leash around the step rail. I don't see that being an issue. Just make sure you unhook the pooch before you go down the road like National Lampoon's Vacation. Nobody wants that kind of stuff. Although that's one of the funniest dialogue exchanges ever. The guy's like, do you know the penalty for animal cruelty in this state? Well, I'm sure it's pretty severe. So this does also have a little drawbridge style table. I will say personally, I'm not as much of a fan of it because it has the extra string in the way, and it doesn't feel as bulky and substantial. But I do like the little hidden electronics section we have here, including something I talk about all the time. Get rid of outside speakers and give me a portable Bluetooth speaker. To me, that just makes a ton of sense. And I suppose, you know, we're talking about campsite stuff. It's really not too far of a stretch, I think, to say that you could just reach up here and fill up a glass of water. Does that seem reasonable to you? We do lack any sort of screen functionality. So if you're going to use this and have this wide open like that, you're opening yourself up to the bugs. Now, it's a little bit easy to miss, but again, the Winnebago will be the only one of the three that has no propane system. The Tranquility and the Pleasure Way, as you see, they do have onboard propane reserves, which you're going to use primarily, I would think, for cooking on these. As we saw, the Tranquility puts it near the back of the RV. This puts it kind of like dead under the door side. As we all know, that is a propane hooker right there. And again, no specific dog leash latch, no lighting, but you've got a step rail. That is a little bit smaller though, and with the extra little, I don't know, I feel like maybe it's out of the way enough. Kind of, I was just wondering if that'd be a little bit more trip hazardy, something like that. They do a good job on this one also of including those light bars that we talked about on the Winnebago, so it's very similar in that regard, and again, it does have the bug screen. What I think is really the key detail on this one, though, is how it has this portable, either, park power or 12-volt fridge or freezer chest. Not to mention, it has easily the most critical component, the little Barley Poppinator 9000 series in there, good for more than just popping tops of bottled water. The barley water is what that one's for. And of course, by that I mean soda pop. I mean, come on, guys. It's not like I'm encouraging deviant behavior or anything anyway. But this is not fixed mounted here. If you want to take that out, you want to bring it over here, like next to where you're cooking, you want to bring it outside, you can put that in a couple different places. So it gives you a little bit more in the way of refrigerator flexibility, reflexibility. So continuing our circle around things, working our way to the back, once again using the Winnebago kind of as the base litmus test here, I have got something better than Vanna White helping us out today. I've got Mr. Chris here giving us a hand. Mr. Chris Bystead again here at our Junction City, Oregon location. Now, real quick, of specific note, you see that ladder? How it's basically a bridge to nowhere right now? That ladder is not there for climbing. He's going to pull that off for us because that ladder actually mounts on the side of the RV. It twist locks in place. Now, here's the cool thing. So it doesn't go missing. It actually has its own lock, which is kind of nice, so that, somebody, if you're just overnight at a rest stop, somebody doesn't take your ladder just because they think it's going to be quite a gas. Now, what Winnebago did here is they made a very flexible, convertible kind of unit where this can be just a big open cargo space. And if you notice, there's even cargo tie downs here on the floor, and you could load stuff like all the way up to the nose. Like you could have maybe like a long kayak or some e-bikes or some different things in here. But what they also did is they said, well, you got to sleep somewhere. So they came out with a, they didn't come out. I don't know if they were the original ones, but they have a power bed lift system in this effectively. And what you'll see is that all three brands kind of handle this a little bit differently. You got to do a little pat of cake to put it down in place, and then you're good to go. But on that note, one of the things that Winnebago did that they don't all do is they included these little flare outs so that if you are taller like me, you've got a little more headroom, a little more foot room, because otherwise, unless you're awful gravity friendly, it's going to be awful tight in there. Now, jumping over to the Tranquility, you might notice this one doesn't put the ladder mount on the back. It actually has a separate telescopic ladder on the inside. Instead, it has a bike rack mount, which is cool. But my friend Chris here was kind enough to point out a potential hazard with this thing. When you're sitting here and you're getting all set up, if you grab the door and go to close it, bang! You could hit yourself right in the head with this thing. And that is a solid bike mount right there. I could see that doing some damage. Now, you notice they went a little bit different back here. They went a little bit more of the traditional kind of B-van variety. They buried all their batteries like right under this rear sofa that is forward-facing that folds down into a bed. So that's cool because that can give this the most forward-facing seating, but it also creates the most limited cargo functionality. At the same time, as you notice when it's up in sofa mode, it also creates probably the best entertainment situation of all of those things. Now finally up to the Rekon. This one almost kind of blends the two a little bit. Notice that it doesn't have any sort of like ladder mount or anything on the back. Instead, what we have down here is our receiver hitch that could act as, something like a bike rack instead of a rack on the back. But you see, there's also that handy little platform right there. That is a cool little step just to help you get in and out of here. But I've noticed most of them don't do anything like that. Now, this one doesn't have a power bed lift. At a glance, it looks a lot like that Winnebago. Instead, what it does is it has this heavy-duty sort of steel structure, and it's got a little bit of weight to it. But once it fully retracts, you notice how it has... I'm working around you here, Chris. Sorry, buddy. It has these more of those cargo mount positions right here, and then these little bars, basically, they just slot in place, almost like you know, cross members in a traditional bed. So that can fold down manually when you need it, fold up manually the rest of the time. You can create a big cargo space if you want to on that one. And live from New York, it's Saturday night. Now, wrapping around the back, getting back over to, well, we'll say the driver's side on this one. All three of these have cassette-style toilets, so that's kind of a wash, as you will. Again, this does have those flared-out sides, so a little bit less potential window coverage here on the Winnebago. But you might notice it's really what's going on up top here that's going to separate all three of these. If you take a look up there, this the Winnebago is the only one that has any sort of roof cargo rack system. And while you're up there, you can take a look at, you know, all the solar panel action. Now, the Winnebago has a 2,000 watt pure sine inverter, which is going to convert that lithium battery power into, you know, usable household outlet power. On the Winnebago, you need that, you know, because it doesn't have a propane system. Now, these other two coaches do. And one of the more, I think, outstanding qualities on the Tranquility here is the fact that it has a 3,000 watt sine inverter. So it actually has the biggest, most powerful inverter of them all. But up top, again, it does not have that cargo rack. Instead, what you actually have up there, it's all nylon wrapped right now, but a light bar. And then you see up top there, that has a 190 watt roof solar panel up top there. Now, remember, since the Tranquility and this Rekon over here also have propane systems, your potential reliance exclusively on electricity is also, you know, greatly reduced as a result. Once again, over here, we don't have any sort of roof cargo rack system. Instead, when you peek at the roof of the Rekon, what you actually have is the largest solar capacity of all three of the coaches that we've looked at. So if you're looking to be just a pure solar sun warrior, that's going to be the one for you. So I would be kind of curious to know which one of those three kind of fits you a little bit best from the roof kind of perspective, you know, maximum solar, the cargo capacity, the light bar, like what things kind of speak to you the loudest. Now, as we're wrapping around the front here, I might as well just keep rolling with this. You see, they all have that Mercedes logo on the front. These are all riding on that Mercedes 2500 chassis system right here. They have that 3.6 liter turbo V6 diesel. And we have heard some reports from actual owners in some really nice conditions when you're going down highways that they have seen around a maximum of about 22 miles per gallon. Now, normally, when we start talking motorhomes and somebody starts saying, well, how many miles per gallon do you get? I almost at that point slide the paper aside and say, if this is the kind of question that we're having, the way motorhomes eat up fuel, we might be looking at the wrong rig. But that is one of the major benefits of going with this style of coach right here. And, of course, kind of the signature calling card of this entire series is that they're all a 4x4. So if you want to get yourself out of a park like this, and you want to go way out in those woods over there, you want to get away from everybody, I don't blame you. These will let you do it. All right, so stepping inside here, looking at the cockpit area, you know, they're all on a Mercedes chassis. They all have the same cab, obviously. Mr. Chris, what are there any key differences that you've seen between these three?
Well, one of the key differences, I think, in this one is it's a little more sports utilitarian in the seating. They are not power in the same way. They're a little more manual. They do turn around. But as far as having electronic features that adjust the back or the lift of the seat or any of those things, the other two actually have those, and this one does not.
So like if you wanted to, you know, lean forward a little bit, you want to recline, the Winnebago's cockpit is actually a little more manual. All right, so you said the others had more power friendly seats. Like what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I love this because a lot of times you have the electronic buttons for your seat down low and you can't tell what they are, what they do. You're just kind of
feeling in the dark,
feeling around and hoping that you can figure it out. This one is shaped like a seat. And if you push the top down, the top of the seat goes down. If you lift this up, it raises this. So for people who really have maybe bad backs or comfort is really crucial, important to them, going on long trips across the country, this might actually be a real selling point for you. You do have the ability to choose what setting you have. A lot of times people will go the main driver, the secondary driver, and maybe all the way turned around. So you can turn it around. You can move
I never
it in.
thought about turned around.
You could move it up to where you can turn it around a little bit better, easier.
And just a quick note, as long as we're talking about the cockpit areas, we were talking about the seat adjustments. The Rekon by Pleasure Way, because we just left the Tranquility, is the exact same way up here, which now that, especially since Chris mentioned, if you want to prep this chair to spin it around like we saw in the Winnebago, having like a chair spin setting, that's brilliant. Not to mention, have you like a manual adjust seat? Have you ever been like trying to slide the seat front to back to have that sweet spot, and then the driver hits the brakes and you're like, "Phew!" All right, so cockpits are more similar than different. The kitchens, I think, might be a very big significant variance point for everybody, because these three kitchens couldn't be much more different. The Winnebago, I think, does the best job of giving us the most traditional kitchen. Where the other two, it really feels like they're expecting you to spend the majority of your time doing your prep work, your cooking work on the outside. And again, it is important to remember this is giving us a bug screen. So if you want that air coming through, you can. Now, I was wondering, does this serve any purpose other than just looking really cool? Like, I was wondering if it was like a bottle opener, but I don't think it does. Why am I always looking for bottle openers in RVs? Well, like I said, this has the most traditional kitchen with the most traditional storage. Like, it's really the one that has like just a clear defined pantry. We have just like normal drawer space, but again, it does have that, since this one is exclusively electric, it has no propane system, it does have that portable electric induction cooktop. Now, one of the cool things about that is if you're cooking in the morning and then, holy crap, we got to hit the road because we want to beat the traffic through Atlanta, Martha, or whatever the case might be. That thing can get water boiling in like 60 seconds, and it cools off just as quickly. So if you want to cook, pack it away, shut the drawer. You're not going to set the camper ablaze, or the coach, as it were. I say camper, someone's going to lose their mind. Now, the Tranquility is somewhat similar. Again, one of the key things here, it does totally lack the bug screen. So if you don't want to be bugged by the bugs, then you may want to bug out of this one. Anyway, that's such a stupid joke. But a more traditional kind of propane cooktop sink situation here, all solid surface. You see the stainless down below. And in terms of like the traditional storage, we have a 1, 2, 3, yeah, you know me, drawers to the floors situation going on. Those are pretty decent size, but it's easy to look at this and say, that's all the kitchen? And the answer is no, not exactly. Obviously, we still have the 12-volt fridge over here. This has the little, popsicle pocket, as it were. I would call it a hot pocket, but that would sort of defeat the purpose. One of the other key details on this one is that it does have a convection microwave oven, which can be a really handy thing for the hot pockets. Couldn't have planned that better if I tried. And then finally up here in the Rekon by Pleasure Way, Pleasure Way. I'm looking at a treasure chest over here full of chicken McNuggets. I don't know. Remember, again, we have that mobile kind of situation going on. The thing is, this of the three has clearly the least defined kitchen. Now, it does also include that portable induction cooktop, but there's really nowhere in the RV that it could be used like the Winnebago has a traditional kitchen. And for sinks, it's just sort of around the corner here, weirdly close to the bed. It might be just a nice quick little hand wash station. I don't know, you might want to put like a little plexi divider up right there just to kind of help separate the Splash-O-Matic 9000 from your sleeping area. Now, I lost my partner in crime, Mr. Chris, to physical therapy. The doctors are going to put him through his torture session. Fun fact for you, by the way, treadmills were originally invented as a medieval torture device. That is a legitimate fact. You can look it up. If it's on the internet, it's got to be true. Now, they all three have slightly different, but basically the same bathroom arrangement. In that it's effectively just like a little hideaway closet that has a small little stool in it. Now, we were in the Winnebago. You may have noticed it had those removable shelves. We're now over here in the Thor Tranquility. One of the things I like about this one is it does actually have the little folding sink in the shower, so you don't have to necessarily wash your bathroom hands in your food prep sink. That's a big deal for some folks, I think. And then finally up here in the Rekon, you see, similar to the Winnebago, it has a shelf system. Now, these are plastic shelves, whereas the Winnebago had bamboo. And the idea behind that is, you know, not everybody cares at all about a toilet situation in a B van like this. There's some people like, I'm just going to use the bathhouse. I'm going to use a cat litter, you know, bucket method, the bumper dumper, as it were, which... As much as I joke about it, I know there are some folks who are using those features. Some people just want the extra storage. Okay, that's great. So the Pleasure Way and the Winnebago both offer that. The other thing you can do with those is you could load like your campsite stuff into them, into that bathroom space, and then unload it when you get to your destination and still have use of your bathroom facility. So, you know, if you are or are not interested in a nice bathroom, that may kind of shift your paradigm a little bit to one direction or the other. And now finally, one of the big things on these, I think, what do they have in the way of like battery reserves, lithiums, all that stuff? So once again, starting with our old friend, the Winnebago, which is what I hear half the time when I hear someone say Winnebago. I'm like, what do you mean I can Winnebago? Because they left all of this wide open, they had to kind of tuck their battery banks and reserves and systems off to the side. This has a Xantrex power system where if you look over here on the left, you have easy access to the twin 125 amp hour batteries. Now that translates into a total of 3,200 watt hours. As I've learned more about this, I've actually kind of found out that instead of amp hours, learning watt hours seems to be an easier way for me to understand total battery consumption. But what I like here is that this is easily accessible in case I had to get in here for anything or I wanted to swap out a battery for whatever reason. You can also, because lithiums don't do well in the cold, you can activate that battery heater when and if you need to, which I don't know. Sometimes I like the idea of control, but sometimes I like the idea of them kind of being auto magic because I'm kind of a dumb person and I forget things. Now, over to the Tranquility. This is a push-pull thing here. Because they didn't have to worry about smashing all the battery stuff off to the side, they were able to come up with a larger total power reserve system. This has a total 400 amp hour battery reserve as compared to the 250 over on the Winnebago. Now, this also uses a Master Volt fast charging system here, but the offset on this, again, is the way that that's done, the extra bulk and space it requires. Well, it eats up that potential cargo capacity. Sorry, clarification. Cargo capacity meaning space, physical space, not like cargo capacity like CCC weight or whatever. Words are hard. Then finally up here on the Rekon, they are also really good about giving us a pretty robust battery bank system, also with a total of 400 amp hours of battery power. I've only got this about half open because unfortunately I about ripped my thumb open trying to open this from the wrong direction on the other side. So those latches apparently are a bit of a man-eater, neither here nor there. But you've got 400 amp hours of battery power on this as well. But they still manage to do it in a way that leaves open potential for cargo capacity, or cargo space. Again, I can't say words. Again, though, that is a manual system to get out of your way. One of the other interesting things I think they did here is I talked about how these all have cassette-style toilets. This one actually has those two little tanks right there. That could be like, you could use those to get rid of your gray water in the same way that you could use a cassette-style toilet you know, to just like go to, say, like a latrine to empty out. You don't necessarily have to wait at the dump station. You could do the same things with the gray tank on this one and potentially hit the road a little bit faster if there's a big line somewhere else. So I thought that was kind of cool. So the big question, which one's the best one? Well, the Winnebago came first. And in a lot of ways, I feel like they're doing it the best. Like, especially in terms of the interior fit, finish, and appeal. If I'm going to spend time in one, the Winnebago is definitely the one I want to spend the most time in. But at the same note, it's definitely more of a style of coach that I could see you trying to get out and about and not spend a lot of time in it. So that's where the Tranquility kind of comes in. It sort of bleeds the difference between inside to outside. Although I will say, the total lack of screen door over here for me is a big time, oops, you screwed up, you really dropped the ball on that. But if what you're looking for is like, you're looking for more of a cargo van that you can kind of sleep in, if you're looking for something a little bit more just utilitarian, that is where I see the Rekon coming into play. So what might be the deciding factor could be the budget between the three. So if you recall at the beginning of the video, I listed MSRP pricing at the time of this video's publishing for all three of these coaches. Now keep in mind, that is MSRP pricing current as of today. The more this video ages, the less accurate that will become. And I think the thing is, like, I think it's pretty obvious that sometimes one of them has more widgets and whiz bangs than the other, but sometimes what you're looking for is something a little bit rugged and just a big time solar package. Well, they all have a couple little edges on the other one, and maybe the budget might be a deciding factor. So this is the point where I say I've talked enough, and I'd like to ask you folks, which one would you go with? You got the Winnebago Revel, you got the Thor Tranquility, and of course, we have the Pleasure Way Rekon. Now, just to really screw you up and throw a monkey into the wrench, I said that, didn't I? We're gonna roll with it. We're gonna throw a monkey into the wrench. You heard me. I said what I said. Anyway, just to really kind of throw this on, I have a fourth option for you. Jayco recently came out with something very similar and comparable to the Winnebago Revel called the Jayco Terrain. And wouldn't you know it, I have a full video tour of one of those. So I'd love you to take a look at this, then take a look at that one. I'll leave you a link in the video description. And of the four, you thought you tuned into three. I just threw in a bonus fourth one. Let me know which one you would go with and why. Now, they all have things like they have different paint packages. You can get them plain on the outside, you know. I obviously didn't go through every single nut bolt widget of every one of these. I wanted to keep this very generalized, very categorical. I wanted to show you the primary features and the mentality that these four things offer. And then you tell me, which one do you think this works best? And if you'd like to see more brand battles like this, let me know and I'll see what I can work in together. And as always, guys, we're ready when you're ready. We don't do hidden dealer fees, we just do everything else. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and best wishes from Bishes, everyone.